Welcome on back to the 4th and 30 podcast. It is going to be week 2 in the NFL, which means we get to go over week 1 in the NFL. It is finally professional football season. My alma mater didn't get to go pro, but they tried. We went to a whole bunch of coaches meetings. He always sat us down in the kitchen, made some pancakes. It was a good day, but we just didn't get there. We
In the
tried,
duplex.
In the duplex. That kitchen, he knows what he's doing down there, the cafeteria. But anyway, we're going to cover some week 1 stuff, so go ahead and get on in. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we're going to have football coming to you for the next 20 plus weeks. Throw some World Series and baseball playoffs. Cardinals slipped into the wild card, no big deal. But week 1, what
Alvy Black's home run number 45.
Vladdy Jr.'s running away with that MVP. But anyway.
Yeah, but he tied the most ever by a catcher.
Yeah. I mean, good for him on it.
He's getting drugged. He's getting tested for steroids.
All right. So week 1's in the books. Kelsey, give us an overreaction from week 1.
The Packers won't make the playoffs.
Whoa.
No.
Now, do you believe that, or is that what you're hearing as an overreaction?
Actually, my overreaction, and I don't think it's an overreaction. I think you guys knew I was high on them early. The Arizona Cardinals will make the playoffs.
Is that an overreaction or just a statement?
That's a statement I think was justified by week 1, and you guys didn't believe me 2 weeks ago, and I think that they proved that offense is going to be insane, and the defense is improved. They have 6 different receivers to throw the ball to. Kyler Murray looked great, and it helps when your leading sacker has 5 sacks. But they looked good in week 1.
And it also helps when you're playing the Titans, whose defense isn't their strong suit. But
well, they couldn't score either.
Chandler Jones had a career day, a day that won't be forgotten in his mind probably ever. And for him to duplicate that, there's a lot riding on that. And so you talk about defensive line for the Cardinals and stuff, and so yeah, they did get back there on Tannehill quite a bit. Stop Derrick Henry the whole game. Yeah, the whole game. But a lot of that is due to Chandler Jones having a career day. J.J. Watt had 2 tackles all game. He had 1 tackle for loss.
Chandler Jones to have 5 sacks every game, but Chandler Jones is one of the best defensive linemen in the league.
I'm not faulting Chandler Jones, but he can't do that every time.
To that, they'll be fine.
I will double down on this, and you saw it on Sunday. If you take away the Titans' run game, Tannehill becomes a less than average quarterback. Secondly, as far as Cardinals making the playoffs, they are still in a very tough division. They did look awfully impressive, though. You can't deny that. They looked good on both sides of the ball. Maybe one of the more impressive teams of the week. But I do believe they were 6-2 last year, so I would say it's an overreaction to say they are locked for the playoffs. I'm going to hold out just a little bit longer.
6-2.
Yeah, they started out. I told you guys that they started out the season great last year.
Yeah, they choked down the stretch, but they did look impressive.
Any thoughts, Cody?
Not on that.
Okay.
Do you have an overreaction?
No, I don't have it. I have something I want to talk about, but I don't have an overreaction. So, Kai, if you have an overreaction, then go right ahead.
I have a question. Is this an overreaction or an underreaction for you guys? The winner of the AFC South will have a losing record this year. Overreaction?
What divisions do they play?
They play the NFC West and the AFC South. Or they play the AFC East.
AFC East because we play the AFC North, yeah.
The NFC West.
That's an overreaction.
So that's 4 losses for every team.
And the AFC East.
Yeah, but the AFC East might be 4 wins.
So
the Titans are gonna win more than 8 games. It's gonna happen.
I'm calling it not an overreaction.
But you get 2 wins against the Jaguars. You get 2 against the Texans.
But 8 wins is still a losing season now.
I said more than 8 wins.
Oh, okay.
You get the Jets twice, or you get the Jets, you get the Patriots, you get the Dolphins. You're gonna win 2 of those. and you get the Jags twice, the Texans twice. That's already
So
6
I
wins.
don't think it's a stretch. I think the Titans will win 10 games, 9-10
I
games,
d-
but
I don't think the Titans are a lock to win that division like I thought. The Colts have a lot better chance to win that division than I originally gave them credit for
Yeah, and
just a week or two ago.
I was going through the Seahawks game because I'm high on the Rams this week against the Colts. And when you look at the numbers, the Colts didn't really perform that poorly. They just gave up big plays. If you look across the board, they had more first downs. They had 11 more minutes of time possession than the Seahawks. They just gave up huge plays. So I'm with you, Carl. I'm looking at the Colts as maybe at this point the favorite in that division.
I think that's an overreaction too. But this is what week 2 is for. Or in between week 1 and 2 is for the overreaction.
the
That's
power
what it's for.
rankings that we did showed that about the overreactions you can have.
Yeah,
have-
nobody rated the Colts above the Titans in the power rankings.
So I had two takeaways from week 1. They're not overreactions or underreactions or anything like that. Just the two things that stood out from week 1. Number 1, Detroit's coach might be the most honest person on the face of the earth. He did not lie. They will get beat down, but they will bite kneecaps all the way back into the game. He did not lie to us. He told the truth. They got beat down, and then they just bit kneecaps until they made it a one possession game. So I don't know. Obviously, San Francisco took their foot off the gas, or that could have been a lot worse. But that shows you Detroit might win a game or two doing that. I would have, my guess on Detroit's over-under was 1 or 2 for the year on wins. So they might be a touch better than I thought they were. And my other thing is one of my favorite things about the Tim Tebow Florida Gators was that two quarterback offense they ran when they had two mobile quarterbacks. Chris Leak was the other one, right? His freshman year. Chris Leak and Tebow.
Yeah.
One of them had a little better arm. One of them was a little more mobile. But I thought that worked really well. And I don't understand why coaches don't do that more often. And then this week, the Bears and the Niners both utilized their rookie quarterbacks who are more dynamic playmakers than Andy Dalton and Jimmy G. They let Andy Dalton and Jimmy G lead the team the entire game. But in 2 red zone scenarios, they put those young guys in. Because in the red zone, it's more so about either being really, really precise with your play calling or outplaying the other team, like just making plays. And those 2 young guys are both very athletic. They're very capable, and they made plays in the red zone. I don't remember which is Trey Lance ran for one and Justin Fields threw one, or vice versa.
Yeah,
Trey Lance threw one.
Trey Lance threw one. Justin Fields.
I don't know that Justin Fields scored one.
He did. He did the opposite of what Lance
he
did. But that's the thing is in the red zone when you have dual threat quarterbacks like that, it makes your offense a little more dynamic. So I love to see that. They're letting them learn under the older guys, but they're also giving them a few licks out there. And I think that's something that more teams should think about doing. If you've got a playmaking quarterback in the red zone, go up there and run an option play or an RPO or something, and then just let them make the reads.
So you want to know why? I'm not disagreeing with you or agreeing with you, but you want to know why coaches don't do that? Because the first time that Trey Lance comes in and runs an RPO and throws a pick in the red zone, everyone's going to be up in arms about it.
Yeah.
Why'd you put in your backup quarterback to do that?
As Mike Tomlin would say, don't live in your fears.
If you have
Kelsey.
2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. That's
Don't
my
live in
motto.
your fears.
Well, and when I was thinking about that too, if there's 2 quarterbacks in the NFL that are okay with you doing that, it would be Andy Dalton and Jimmy G. 2 capable quarterbacks, but they're not elite. They're not big-headed.
You think Andy Dalton's okay with that, though, knowing he's about to lose his starting job?
Like, Andy Dalton won't be the starter much longer, so that won't really
but
matter.
Andy Dalton already knew he wasn't going to start the entire year. I mean,
But he got promised.
to
Matt
start
Nagy
week
promised
1.
him.
And didn't you guys say this like 2 weeks ago that Andy Dalton was the guy in Chicago? What happened?
We'll never say
Nobody
it's a
said
good-
nobody
I-
said Andy Dalton is the guy in Chicago.
This year it is.
I
They
was
would
gonna say,
make
both of them do. Both
the
those
Bears
two
would
do.
be making a huge mistake to throw Justin Fields out there right now. But the media, it's I can see it coming full circle.
The media has been pushing for Justin Fields since.
Everybody is saying Justin Fields should be the starter, and the Bears are going to cave and they're going to regret it.
Yep.
You heard it here first.
Well, I don't think I get why you think that Justin Fields should be the starter, but nobody thinks that Andy Dalton's better than Justin Fields, right?
I think
You think what? Because
I
there's a reason why the media is saying Justin Fields
it's
is
not about
better.
being better. It's about that he needs to set and learn. That if they want a franchise quarterback, he needs to set and learn. Just like Mahomes did. Just like Aaron Rodgers did.
Easy there,
I mean,
Chris
I'm
Collinsworth.
not saying that it didn't benefit Mahomes, but I'm also going to say the Chiefs would have beat the Titans in the playoffs had Mahomes started that playoff game. So I don't really know. I mean, you can argue either way.
You just don't know that though.
Oh, they would have.
We never will
But
know the answer
Mahomes
to that
doesn't play
question.
defense, and Mariota threw a interception slash
To himself.
pass to himself. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
but the
I
Chiefs
don't know.
didn't score like at all in the second half. Mahomes would have been playing; they would have scored in the second half.
Yeah, he might have also threw 3 interceptions. We don't know, to Kyler's point. But I do have an overreaction or underreaction for week 1. Urban Meyer is a bust. Needs to go back to college. USC job's open. He needs to go. Um, that Jaguars team looked terrible. Trevor Lawrence looked terrible in it. And so his stat line, came out pretty good. He did have 3 interceptions, but the majority of those stats came in junk time when the Texans were up 34-7 in the third. It was just not a good game. Jaguars have 0 defense. They have no offense. And Urban Meyer, you've heard it. These guys, the players are starting to turn on him. Like, you got to hydrate, run, hustle, do all that stuff. That works fine in college. You can dictate that stuff in college. These are professional damn athletes. Like,
They're grown
they
men.
made it. They made it. You can't treat them like that anymore. Urban Meyer is a full-blown bust, and it's going to ruin Trevor Lawrence's rookie deal.
I would say
My
the biggest
takeaway,
problem is they threw the ball 50 some times. Run the damn ball with your 1,000-yard running back. And James Robinson didn't even get a majority of their carries, I don't
got
think.
46% of their running back
42.
touches.
42.
42.
I don't know what, and they drafted Etney, so they obviously don't have a lot of faith in Robinson anyway. Etney's hurt now for the season, I can't say his name.
ETN.
ETN, yeah.
So here's
But I just don't get what I mean, I have to agree with you because I don't get what the plan is. I don't understand what they're doing.
well, and my thing is how bad are you when you give up 37 points to a consensus bottom 3 team? You gave up 37 points.
To essentially 3 players.
They
To Tyrod Taylor, Ingram, and Brandon Cooks. To
most
essentially
people
just
think
3
that
guys.
the Texans with Deshaun Watson for a bottom 5 team, they started Tyrod Taylor and you gave up 37 points.
We got to put some respect on Tyrod Taylor's
Yes,
name, though.
yes.
Because that guy doesn't really. I mean, that guy's had a pretty decent career for how he's not really gotten a full.
He has not gotten the fair shake in his career.
I think it's because, and I say this a lot too with guys like that, but I think it's because he's one of those guys that's good enough, but no one really has. He's not
not going to
elite.
put you over the top.
Every team is out looking for their franchise elite quarterback, and Tyrod Taylor is not elite, but he's in the upper echelon of good. He will never be elite, but he's good enough to win several ball games. But he's not ever going to be your Mahomes or your Aaron Rodgers, yada yada yada.
I don't think he's your Ben Roethlisberger, to be honest. But and I'm
Where
talking
did he-
Roethlisberger right now.
That's pretty.
Where
low
did he go
standards for
after
you.
Buffalo?
Cleveland.
Okay,
And
so
he-
he's
and
the
he's
good
awesome.
luck Chuck.
Yeah.
He left Buffalo, got Josh Allen, left Cleveland, got Baker,
Ooh, I
left
don't know if
LA,
Baker's a good luck, Chuck. But the rest of their squad, yeah. Continue.
I
left LA and got Justin Herbert.
Good,
So
hey.
whoever the Texans gets next might be just,
Good
a
job
pro.
on the LA. Good job. Proud of you, Fort.
Piss off, bub. Anyway, he is good luck, Chuck. So, whoever the Texans get next when they get these
It's
3
almost
first-round picks for Watson and all this stuff,
It's
and they get to pick whoever they want. Like, they're
almost
just going
like
to be
they
a god.
don't have an elite franchise quarterback as their third string quarterback. It's almost like they don't.
They don't already have the guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's not listed as a quarterback. He's listed as other.
Maybe Tyrod Taylor should go to Pittsburgh next so they can get their next elite quarterback.
Well, we definitely don't have it on the roster. So that might be a good idea.
You heard it here first, Mike Tomlin. When you watch this tomorrow, trade for Tyrod, and then let him start one game, collapse his lung, and
Well, how about
Oh.
that Steelers Bills game? How sloppy was that?
It was a pretty sloppy first half. Both defenses showed up. I mean, it was a hostile environment. I think that it's hard to say week one, but the Bills defense looked pretty solid itself. I don't know how much of that was the young offensive line, but the Steelers had a good game plan for the Bills too. I don't think the Bills offense is going to play that poorly. Because last year when the Steelers and Bills played, the Steelers were in their base defense a lot, and the Bills kind of tore it apart. This year, Stephon Tuitt is hurt, so the Steelers I don't know if they made adjustments because of that or because of what happened last year, but they didn't play their base defense the whole game. They had extra DBs out there. The Bills couldn't run the ball against a four-man front, and Steelers blitzed four, got pressure, and had 7 DBs in the secondary. In the second half, the Steelers offense got going a little bit. And I do want to shout out the young O-lineman, because when you're a young offense and you get shut out like that in the first half in your first game, it's pretty easy to hang it up. And those guys stayed in there and they put together a pretty good second half. So that's a good sign for the Pittsburgh offense, I think, which is a work in progress.
So typically in the NFL, first and second down, you don't usually do anything crazy or exotic. You try and get yards, and then on third down, you go out and go crazy. The Bills last year were notorious for on first and second down, basically playing like it was third down every down. They were doing crazy stuff. They weren't trying to get easy yards. And the Steelers basically said, we're going to do the exact same thing. And the Bills didn't know what was coming every down. The Steelers were mixing it up. I mean, they basically played fire with fire. But one thing that was interesting, I thought, the Bills won on like every statistical category, and the Steelers won the game. Bills won time of possession, first downs, total yards, passing yards, rushing yards. They did have more penalties, and they had the one turnover. And they had the ball
Special
79
teams,
plays.
baby.
Yeah, that one turnover and that blocked punt, I mean, essentially were the difference in the game. And the Bills couldn't finish drives. Steelers were getting field goals as well, but at least they're getting points.
It seemed like every Bills drive ended at the 50-yard line.
Yeah,
they would get to the 50-yard line and punt.
I mean, it was a sloppy week one matchup against 2 top 10 teams.
But that's how the Steelers want those games to go. I mean, their defense the way it is. I mean, their offense is capable, but not elite by any means. They want the games to be like that so they can win games that way.
How much better did the Cowboys look on Thursday night than anybody kind of saw coming?
I've been saying it all along. Nobody was listening to me.
But
you see where I had them ranked?
But the Cowboys cowboyed hard this week. Lawrence is
Well, I
hurt.
don't know that they cowboyed. Oh, after the fact, yeah.
Yeah. No, after the game, DeMarcus Lawrence out for however long. What's it, Lavelle?
Just a laundry list of people.
He's
been out this
suspended,
week.
and then
He's
one more
suspended.
was whatever. So they're out like 3 starters now, and on the
Yeah,
train
I
to on the train to 8 and 9.
Really, their only
Cowboys-
mistake was giving Tom Brady the ball back at the end of the game. That's
Run
really
the
your
ball
only
with
mistake.
running back that you're paying $100 million, whatever the heck that contract was they gave him.
We've had
Cowboys-
22 years to learn that lesson, and everybody's still doing it.
Everyone makes that mistake.
They didn't surprise me one bit, because here's what the Cowboys do year in, year out. They give their fans hope at the beginning of the year, and then they regress. And that's exactly what I expect the Cowboys to do this year.
Yeah, I mean they do have a history of doing
They'll win
that.
their
They get to 8 wins really quick, and then they just kind of.
Who do they have this?
They have the
they
Chargers.
got the Chargers. Yep, 0-2 for the Cowboys.
They don't have
That's
a
a
team that made
gunslinger
the
game.
playoffs until like week 9 or 10 or something like that now. They have their schedule gets a lot easier until then.
But another team out of the NFC East that really surprised me was the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, which granted they played the Falcons, and the Falcons are in a little bit of a bad spot. But Jalen Hurts played really well. Like he was pretty calculated with what he was doing. I mean, that's your guy in Philly. I know you have Gardner Minshew back there and Joe Flacco, but like that performance, pretty darn good.
Leads me to wonder, though, are the Eagles better than we thought, or are the Falcons way worse than we thought?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the Falcons are a bottom 3 team, and the Eagles are probably maybe mid to upper 20. I mean, I think they'll still finish 3rd in that division behind the Cowboys and the Reds or football team.
Oh,
I think I will take back my prediction of the Falcons being a dark horse to make the playoffs because they looked like the absolute worst team in the NFL.
Worse than
The
the
worst.
Jags?
The worst. Yeah.
The
Oh
Jags
yeah.
got destroyed by the
They
Texans.
put up 6 points on an Eagles defense that was really bad last year. And I mean, I don't think the Eagles are. I think the Eagles will be brought back down to earth this week pretty heavily. I mean, they play
Yeah,
San
no,
Francisco at home,
they aren't going to beat the Niners.
and San Francisco is only 3-point favorites. So if you're looking for a bet,
If you're in a state that it's legal to bet, we don't do it in Missouri, but if it's
almost
legal
like
to bet in the state.
I Yeah, that's a pretty good spread to have as a person that lives in a state where betting is legal. Just saying. Let's find another game here. The Chargers and Washington. So, you know, Herbert did look calculated at times. Washington obviously had the big injury there in the first half. That game was a lot lower scoring than I expected it to be. Uh, and the best way I heard it was that was a game that you would have expected Philip Rivers to find a way to lose instead of the Chargers find a way to win. Um, the Chargers did still try to lose it. They just didn't quite get it done. You guys have any thoughts on that one?
yeah. It's I watched the game. I watched every play of that game. Many of you guys know why. But after the first drive, my initial thought was, "Oh shit, the Chargers are going to win 12 games this year." And then the game kind of went on, and they looked more like a middle of the road team. But they're still a sleeper in my eyes. They've got a lot of good pieces. They looked really good at times against Washington's damn near elite defense. Um, I think the quarterback changed in the middle of the game. I think that if Washington would have got to prepare with how do you say his name?
Henneke?
Henneke. I think if they'd have got to prepare the entire week with Henneke taking QB1 snaps instead of Fitzmagic, that could have played a difference. But Henneke played fine. I just, they just didn't move the ball real well. But it was a good game. I think the saying about Philip Rivers finding a way to lose it is the best way to describe that game.
Best way to
I
describe Philip Rivers' career.
I would describe that game as just kind of right now. These teams are 2 middle of the road teams slugging it out. Now the Chargers do have potential. I do think they have a chance. They do need to improve though. But the defense checked the boxes. Justin Herbert's checked every box so far in his career. If they improve, and Washington with Tyler Henneke, who knows how that's going to go. He does add an extra dimension to their offense though, because the dude does have some speed, and they do have a good running back. But really, just 2 middle of the road teams for me that have some improving to do.
I actually tend to agree with you. I think there's been a lot of overreaction about this game. People are high on the Chargers now. Um, I honestly think that both the teams were kind of disappointing in how they both tried to lose the game multiple times. It kind of reminded me of the Raiders Ravens game. Both teams tried to lose the game multiple times, and just one ended up winning it. I mean, I think both the teams can be good. It was a week 1 game that didn't look very good.
Let's not say people are overreacting to LA though, because I do believe I said I think they make the playoffs last episode, and I stand by that. I think they sneak into the playoffs.
I think that multiple of us said they make the playoffs,
Oh.
or I said they could be a playoff team.
And you mentioned that go if you're going to talk Chargers, go ahead. Chargers.
Nope.
No, you're good. You go ahead.
I think, like you said, both teams tried to lose the game on Monday night, but the Raiders looked better than I thought they would. The Ravens didn't do them any justice by, they helped them out by the Ravens not looking like the typical Ravens. But I thought I've always been pretty high on Derek Carr, I thought he looked really good. They've got a decent receiving core. Jacobs did okay for being injured, limping around the entire game. And like you said, their defensive line played well for not being great on paper. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs or anything like that. They're probably not going to have a winning record, but they're definitely good enough to take one off the Chiefs or the Chargers or somebody like that, and make the division a little more interesting.
I think the Chargers and Raiders are actually pretty close. I don't think the Raiders are as bad as some teams say. That being said, I do think that the Ravens O line looked terrible. I don't know why, and this has always worked in Baltimore. It's always worked for them. But at some point, like the Chiefs, I don't. I guess I don't watch enough Baltimore games because the Baltimore defense is always great. But they're like the most aggressive defense in the NFL. They blitz you nonstop and play man around on the outside. And quarterbacks who are capable beat them over and over. The Chiefs do it every time with Patrick Mahomes. Derek Carr torched them multiple times. I think he was the leading passer
Yeah,
actually in week 1.
Yeah, he was
Jack
400
Prescott.
and
That man coverage on the outside, blitzing everybody, like, at some
But you
point, you gotta
also
stop doing
like
it.
right before that game, you lose Marcus Peters. Like that kind of changes. The Ravens are very injured for being week 1. Like
No, they
very
are,
injured.
but why wouldn't you adjust things a little bit, not blitz every
B-
single down and
But I
have
mean,
man coverage
if you
every guy's
prepared
on an
for three
island?
weeks to play the Raiders on week 1, and then you lose QB or CB1 like a day or two before the game, that's hard to adjust.
Yeah.
CB2.
Well, they have CB1 and 1A.
Marlon
They're both
Humphrey
good.
is the lockdown corner on the Ravens.
You know what's funny about that? Marcus Peters, since he's been in Baltimore, has allowed the lowest QBR, the lowest completion percentage in the NFL.
that's why the Ravens get to blitz
They
7
have
and play
they have
man on the
cornerbacks
outside.
1A and 1B.
Yeah, well, the Ravens better make some adjustments this week because if they play defense like that against the Chiefs, it's going to be a long game, like you said. But the
It won't be
Ravens,
that long because the clock will be running the entire time.
they have had a lot of injuries, and that does. I don't want to say I'm worried about them because they always seem to find a way. But when you when you pick up a O lineman that the Steelers just let walk and he starts on your team this year, that's kind
He's
of worrisome. And he
he's
got destroyed.
he's gonna be their starting left tackle this week. He was right tackle last week. He's gonna
Well,
be
he
left
was left
tackle this
tackle
week.
for Pittsburgh for
Yeah, I
years,
know. He's gonna
Um,
be left tackle this
but
week
he
with
got
another injury.
destroyed.
so Baltimore is obviously not the fourth best team in that division, but week 1 they looked like the fourth best team in that division. I thought Cincinnati looked just fine against
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah. Their offense looked pretty darn good. Uh, so the Ravens will bounce back. They'll be fine. Their defense will carry them until they get healthy everywhere. I mean, I was going to name off some of their injuries, but there's so many of them you can't even start to name them all off. But the Ravens will be fine. It may be too little, too late if they're injured very long, but
Well, a lot of the injuries are the whole season.
yeah.
I don't know. Kyler kind of alluded to this when we talked about the North, and I kind of ignore Kyler a lot when we talk about the North because it's Steelers or bust. But the Ravens could be. I think the Ravens could be an 9-win team this year. They did not impress me at all, and it's week 1, but they did not impress me at all on Monday night. Their defense didn't look the same. They looked like they were getting torched on the outside. Their O line looked terrible. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
could be
Well,
a long
you
season for Baltimore.
some games that you probably expected to be competitive that now you kind of lean Ravens losses are both against the Browns and both against the Steelers. So there's 4. The Browns in a loss looked about as good as anybody can look in a loss. They really did. The Browns,
They
the
looked
Browns lost and looked good, and the Cowboys lost and looked good. Like that's hard to do. And I know the Chiefs defense isn't, out world killer, giant killers, but like that first half they were very methodical, picking it apart. Like, we couldn't stop the run game. That's a very balanced offense, and they're scary.
they
I don't want the Chiefs to play the Browns in the playoffs. I know that. I don't want to play them twice.
the Browns look like a top 5 to 7 team in a loss. Imagine what they're going to look like in a win. You know what I mean? They're only going to get better as the year goes on, barring injuries or whatnot.
The
They
only
did lose a
OBJ
starting
back
left
as well
tackle.
sometime.
the only problem with the Browns, and you saw it in the game, they got down to the Chiefs and they didn't know what to do. They are not a play from behind team.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but to be fair, there's not many teams that know what to do when they're down against the Chiefs. Like, once you get down to the Chiefs, it's hard to catch up.
To be
The Chiefs
fair,
showed it. I mean, the Chiefs can be down by 14 points and
And
still
Well, this
be
is a
in the game.
reoccurring theme with the Browns, though.
the
If
fumbled
they're
punt.
having
fumbled
to
punt.
throw the ball, if they're having to throw the ball to catch up, they are not a very good. They are
The
not
real
near as good of a team.
the real question is when they were up by 3, why were they throwing the ball? Why that drive where they went 3 and out and threw the ball 3 straight times? What were they doing?
You
I have
know,
no clue what
they were
happened.
probably thinking keep or catch the Chiefs off guard here, catch them,
And then they got sacked.
yeah, catch them playing the run here, and maybe we'll get them burnt over the top and in the game. But that's not how it worked out. But yeah, I thought the Ravens misplayed it a little bit. Not the Ravens, the Browns. They should have, for as dominant as both their running backs were, they should have never. The entire second half, they should have ran the ball every down. They were getting like it seemed like 8 yards per carry, and you just it's about the only way to beat the Chiefs because eventually the Chiefs' offense is going to come alive in some game or at some point in time in the game, and you can't allow them on the field so have to chew the entire clock up
And they're a
I
team that's built to do it. They just need to
and built to do
learn.
it. Yeah,
I actually disagree with that narrative because it's proven even if you run all game, it's like one possession difference. But I do agree that they have to keep their offense on the field, and passing the ball is not doing it. I don't think they need a chew clock, but they're just better at running the ball. So I think against the Chiefs, you can't stall out like their offense did, and their offense just stalled out in the second half.
and
You stall
then
out, Chiefs are going to keep scoring points, and they're going to pass
and
you
then
right
the
out of it.
Browns browned the punter muffs the snap, and that was it. The game was over once that happened. There was no coming back for the Browns. They were defeated after that.
And speaking of a team that was defeated within the first few minutes, the Packers. They were defeated very early on. If it wasn't for that last 50-plus yard touchdown by Winston, he would have finished the day sub 100 yards with 4 touchdowns. That is the kind of ass whooping the Saints put on the Packers. That's embarrassing. But it's brought up a little A-Rod controversy or conspiracy, actually. And I know Cody's a tin hat guy. He likes conspiracies.
I was
And
getting ready to talk about this, but you lead it home. You take it
I'm
home.
all for it. I'm all for it. Is A-Rod dogging the Packers this year because they didn't trade him? Is he in now? Granted, if ever comes out that it's true and that he did throw a game like career down the toilet, no Hall of Fame, no nothing, Pete Rose, see you later. But do you think there's a chance that being as petty as Aaron Rodgers is, that he did throw that game?
And I was going to bring that up because I didn't know A-Rod was that petty until Kelsey told us that day. I didn't know all the previous stuff about
He's been
him,
petty for 15 years.
Yeah, he
but
doesn't even talk to half his family.
yeah, like that was what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna say we will know Monday night about 11 p.m. Central whether the tinfoil hats are on or off. It could just be one bad game. It could be, but my hat is he is so petty. He came to training camp, got ready to play, and he's gonna force him to play Love by week 4 or 5 or something. That's truly what I think.
The only
So
the only
you
thing I would say that I don't believe that is because I think Aaron Rodgers is very cocky, and I don't think he would allow himself to do that. I think it was more of a reality check for him, personally. I
so
don't
this
think he
is
intentionally did it.
this is a pile on Aaron Rodgers segment, I guess, because I'm going to take it another way. Aaron Rodgers is obviously very arrogant, very petty. He didn't do anything in training camp this year. He did finally come in preseason, didn't do workouts or anything. Last year, I think it was what was it Tampa Bay that yeah, it was Tampa Bay that demolished him last year. I think the biggest knock, in my opinion, on Aaron Rodgers in his career is that he doesn't prepare like the other elite quarterbacks. The reason why Tom Brady's good is not because he's the best quarterback. It's because every single detail of his game is it's kind of like a Kobe like mentality. Every detail of his game is fine tuned. Um Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, just goes out there and says, "Hey, I'm the best quarterback. I can do this without And I just don't think he really cared that much. I don't think he was trying to throw the game. I think he just doesn't he thinks that he's the best. He's gonna go out there and do whatever he wants. Week 1, it didn't work. Last year they got demolished by Tampa Bay, same kind of thing.
Well, there was the podcast too that he was on. The clip came back around where they said, and Peyton did an awesome job with this on the Monday night thing. With you've got the coach in your ear until 15 seconds left on the play clock, and the coach is calling the play. Then he says, "Hey, I see cover 2. Check the play. Go this," and then it cuts off at 15 seconds. And Aaron Rodgers said on that podcast, he goes, "I don't want my coach to do that. I can read a defense." Okay, you're an MVP quarterback. You're elite. I'm sure you can read a defense. But coaches can see things players don't see, the same way players make plays that coaches couldn't in other ways, so that just tells you he might be somewhat uncoachable too.
Yep, I agree. And that's been what was the receiver in Green Bay that despised him? Was it Greg Jennings? I think it was Greg Jennings. Despised Aaron Rodgers because of how he acted and how he treated players and how he acted around in practice and stuff. Like he just seems like an arrogant, cocky guy that thinks he can do it all and doesn't really care what anyone else has to say about it.
If he was not an NFL quarterback, his personality would get him nowhere in life.
Yeah, there might be a reason that quarterbacks haven't made it past 16 seasons in Green Bay. That's just all they're good for. But yeah, we'll move on to week 2 after I say this. Jameis Winston has laser eyes because of his LASIK eye surgery.
I was going to
But
say this. The Saints offense is still a question for me. I understand that he threw for 100, but they literally 150 yards passing. Alvin Kamara ran for 80 yards. The offense didn't show anything. The defense just demolished the Packers.
they didn't have to.
I know, but we still don't know what they'll be, is what I'm saying. Like their offense is still a question mark.
Next week 2 is week 1 for their offense.
Sean Payton has always put together a very crisp offense. And yeah, he had Drew Brees, who's one of the most crisp guys there ever was. But he's going to set up plays that suit Jameis Winston to help him out. Like he's not going to leave him out to dry like Tampa Bay used to. You wouldn't assume anyway. So
I agree he's in a better spot.
I think they'll be fine. Jameis Winston has the ability to go over the top, which helps Kamara out. So they have an above average offense. I'm not saying it's like elite tier or anything like that, but it's above a 50% offense in the league for sure.
Without Michael Thomas, they're limited at receiver, really.
Yeah, Kamara can catch out of the backfield. They'll be all right. Week 2. So as the podcast knows, we have an eliminator going, and we all made it through week 1 because the majority of us picked the Bucks. Kyler picked
The Niners.
Rams.
the Niners.
Kyler
picked the Rams. And so we can't pick another team, but we all have teams picked for this week. So we're going to go ahead and knock that out because time is allowing for it. I think 2 of us have the same, and then 2 of us are different, right? Is that what it came up with?
I never
think so.
locked mine officially
Depends
in.
on what Cody goes with, because he was saying
That's why I told everybody to write them down. Cody's that was a good point. I'm going to switch to that team.
I haven't heard anybody else's official one.
I told you in the chat about.
You told me what-
my official one. My
Okay,
official
go.
one is the Buccaneers over the Falcons. Falcons looked like garbage. The Buccaneers coming off a Super Bowl win. That's an easy money game right there.
that was mine as well. Me and Carl were the ones that had the same. We both had Tampa Bay.
All right, Cody.
I thought it was the obvious pick. I thought all 4 of us were going to pick it. But
Well, when
Kyle
I
and
looked
Cody-
through it originally, I saw that game and I'm like, yeah, I could see that one, but I named off the other 2. But I'm going to go with I'm going to either get burned here or it's going to look really smart because of how bad the opposing team is. But I'm going to take the Packers over Detroit. For how bad the Packers looked week 1, I think they'll bounce back week 2. And the Lions just aren't very good.
That's kind of true for me as well, Cody, because I'm going with the Browns over the Texans, and the Texans did just play pretty good, but I'm going with the Browns.
Those were my 2 games, and I wanted to pick the Browns, but my thought is the Texans look pretty good. Even though it was the Jags, they still looked pretty good. So
I'm not sweating it too much.
So got those
You
are
do
the
have to
games we
shave,
expect
though.
to be.
you lose.
No, we did not agree to that. Anyway, So those are the games we expect to see those winners come out of. You guys will be in the loop on that all season long, depending on how long we make it. If we completely suck, we'll probably do it twice. But uh, you never know. Sometimes somebody might go the distance. If somebody's on a heater, are we just going to let him go, even if we're all done?
Yep. Yep. Try and go
All
all
right.
18.
Ugh. Anyway, oh
I don't
man,
know if anyone
can
will
you
go
imagine
18.
getting
That's
to
a
like
long.
16? You'd be
Well, and then you're out
anyway.
15 teams to pick from too.
That's what I'm saying.
Not only are you trying to pick a winner, you're trying to pick a winner out of the remaining 17
Yeah.
teams you have.
You got to rely on a 6 and 8 team to try to get you
on the road.
Anyway, what games this week do you guys think will be exciting if you've had a chance to look through it? You
I
have
think it's actually the games in our little podcast here. Steelers, Raiders will be a good one. Chiefs, Ravens will be a good one.
Titans, Seahawks, Cowboys,
Titans, Seahawks.
Chargers,
Cowboys,
Yep.
Chargers.
Vikings, Cardinals.
I'm definitely going to watch the Bills,
Bills,
Dolphins.
Bills, Dolphins. Yeah.
And I won't
Bengals,
watch
Bears might
it,
be
but
okay because they're both bad.
I'm not. I won't watch it, but I'm anxious to see the outcome of the Bengals Bears game, just because I want to know if the Bengals are decent or not.
Yeah, and I'll just even if
That's not really a good water test if they're decent because the Bears are terrible.
here's why it's a good test for Bengals, because if they go on the road to a hostile environment like Chicago and win that game, that's a check the box kind of game for them. The Bears aren't that great, and I don't expect the Bengals to be able to beat them on the road. I'm kind of thinking the Bears are going to be able to win that game. But if the Bengals do, I'll be impressed.
I didn't see the Bengals beating the better team in the Vikings.
No, I didn't either.
I did pick the Bengals to beat the Vikings.
I think the Thursday night game will be a good one because I don't think the football team's as good as we thought they'd be.
We're going to time travel a little bit. You mean the game that starts in 40 minutes?
Yeah, the game that will have already been played by the time you guys watch this.
And the Giants have performed well against their division over the last few years too. So
Yeah,
That
this
division
year
always
has to
performs
be the
well
last
against
year
them.
for Daniel Jones, though. That guy is just not good. There's just nothing he does well.
I agree, but Jason Garrett's a terrible offensive coordinator. I don't know why they signed him. Coach is going to be gone after this year too if they don't figure it out.
Yeah, they're bad. A game that I'm actually excited to see is rookie quarterback versus rookie quarterback, Patriots versus the Jets. And I never say I'd be excited. I never thought I'd be excited to see a Patriots game, but like it's 1 p.m. slate, so you can kind of come in and out on red zone, listen to Hanson, get your flow going. But that has the potential to be, fairly sloppy. Bill Belichick's undefeated at home against well, no, it's in New Jersey,
In New
so
York, yeah. Well, New
that
Jersey,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. But
Meadowlands.
he is undefeated at home against rookie quarterbacks. But that's going to be interesting because the Patriots defense is not bad, and then the Jets offensive line looked pretty bad there the other day. But Zach Wilson played his little heart out last week, so I expect that to be better than people like a better game than people are expecting because they're both kind of on each other's level. The Jets being, behind the Patriots a little bit, but like, as far as, they're not top tier teams, but they're kind of on the same tier. So it should be a good game when you think about it that way. But yeah, so the gunslinger matchup, Cowboys Chargers, do you think they'll be over here we go. Over or under 750 combined passing yards in the Cowboys Chargers game between both teams?
To go
That's a
over.
lot. It's a lot of passing yards.
Wait, passing yards or total yards?
Passing yards.
Oh,
no, I'm going under because
I'm
the
going under.
Cowboys, I think, it's a good running matchup. The Washington ran the ball pretty well on Chargers last week. I think the Cowboys get back to running the football a little more after last week, and I think they try to establish Ezekiel Elliott.
But
That would be the
Prescott threw for
smart thing.
400. Prescott threw for 400 against that Buccaneers defense.
Yeah, he did, but you can't do that the whole year. You can't just rely on Dak Prescott the whole year.
Well, they're gonna have
No.
to.
They are going to try to establish some kind of running game. They'd be smart to. So that's going to be under. But that is one of the better matchups, I will say, because it's kind of two teams that you don't really, you'd see them as middle of the road teams right now with a chance to make the playoffs. So I am curious to see. I mean, Cowboys got to go on the road for the second straight week to avoid 0-2. And Kelsey, you mentioned their schedule lightens up, but you definitely don't want to start 0-2, no matter what your schedule looks like.
Well, if there's one division, you'll be fine starting 0-2 in. It's their division.
Those two
Yeah,
combined
that'll
for
have you in
740
second
yards in week 1, if it's worth noting. 337 and 403.
against Washington and Tampa Bay, two really good defenses. So I'm just saying, I don't think that number is as crazy as you guys think.
No, I thought about it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just a really high number. It's just a really high number.
It sounds high, but that's the league we live in now.
Yeah, well, when I thought you said
But-
total yards too, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm taking that. No questions asked." But passing yards, I was thinking about it, I'm like, that's almost what I would expect passing yards to be at. So all Zeke's got to do is run for 80, and that gets made easy. So it'll be a close one.
The Bucks Cowboys game, we watched that. It was a lot of throwing, a lot of points scored, a lot of possessions. There was barely over 750 in that game. It was 782. So I don't think that's going to repeat itself. I mean, I expect it to be 700, close to it, 650, 700, but 750 is just a very high number.
It should be a pretty exciting game nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm glad it's in the well, out here it's the 420 slot, but
Anybody know the over-under on pass yards in that game? I want to look it up now.
Say what?
The over-under on passing yards in that game. I'm just curious what Vegas set it at.
we can look it up. Who has another thing they want to talk about for week 2 while I look that up?
Kyler, Steelers, Raiders. What do you see coming?
I see, I think this will be higher scoring than the Steelers game last week. I don't think the Raiders will try to do much running of the ball. I think they'll spread the Steelers out, kind of like the Bills did, and the Raiders are good at that though, and that kind of concerns me. But I do think this will be a higher scoring game. I think both teams will move the ball a little bit, and it's going to come down to the red zone or that one big turnover. If the Steelers can get pressure with 4, the thing that's working against the Raiders here is they just played Monday night, went to overtime, hard-fought game, and now 6 days later they're traveling to the East Coast to play a noon game. And we know how that goes for West Coast teams typically. So I do expect the Steelers to have a little bit more energy, especially the home crowd. It's going to be loud, hostile. The question is, will the Raiders be able to block that front?
I agree with most of what you said. That's one thing that a lot of people don't look at is when the West Coast teams come play a noon game on the East Coast. It is very difficult, especially coming off that Monday night game. You're basically playing a 9 a.m. game, and you're from where you're from. That's wild.
I could not find it on my sports book. I didn't find it on a quick Google search either. Apparently, it's not one of those common ones.
Okay, so my take on week 2, after it's said and done, when the dust settles Tuesday morning, is former head coach of Bishop Sycamore, Roy Johnson, getting phone calls for open NFL jobs. Is he going to go be an OC or a head coach somewhere? He was let go by Bishop Sycamore, but that was just a bad situation all around.
Who let him go? Like, who is the
assistant coach?
Sycamore?
The assistant coach is the superintendent, and let him go. Swear to God.
His landlord let him
Of
go.
what? They don't have a
the
school.
duplex.
So
The duplex.
So
Okay.
So the new news is it's a real school, and supposedly the quarterback came out and said the oldest player on their team is actually the quarterback. He's 19 years old, and he said that some of them like re did it last year when COVID hit. They re-enlisted or whatever so that they would be seniors the next year.
Reclassified.
Reclassified or whatever, so they'd be seniors next year. So they have a bunch of 19-year-olds on the team because of COVID last year. They didn't get to play, so they wanted to be able to play this year. So apparently, the new news is it's a real school, regardless of everything that had come out before.
Well, the
Uh,
paperwork was a real school. They just didn't do the school part of it. Like they're student athletes, but the student part just doesn't exist.
The school is a duplex, and they met once a week for
Yeah.
practice. So I just went through and I count, and I know no one's done this. I count that there will be 8 teams that'll be 2-0 next year after this week. So that'll be half the teams that won last week will lose.
And who
This
are
week.
those 8 teams?
Yeah.
Let's
just
the
go through it real
Broncos.
quick. So, Bengals, yes or no?
I actually picked the Bears, but
I'm taking the Bears on the at
Texans,
home.
yes or no?
no.
The Rams, I assume is a yes.
Yes.
Dolphins,
No, they play the
No.
Bills.
Niners or Eagles?
Well, one of them has to be. So that's one.
Yeah, but who
Niners.
you?
Niners.
Niners, but
Raiders or Steelers?
Steelers.
Saints or Panthers?
Hey, you can speak up a little bit, Kelsey.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Kelsey
It's
was
all
like,
right.
Steelers.
Steelers.
I actually. So
I
you
was
guys were
wrong
talking
about
betting on
that
the
one.
game. So you guys were talking about this game, the Saints Panthers. I think it's gonna be a lot better game than you guys think. You guys thought it was an easy line. I don't think the Panthers are as bad as you guys think. The
Sam
Jets came
Darnold
back
is their
late in that game.
quarterback. They're
Yeah,
He
bad.
had
bad.
a, he had a career day last week.
Yeah, he had a great game last week. His first game, not New York.
Playing the dumpster fire of the team he used to play for.
Yeah, it was a revenge game.
But they were
He'll come-
dominating early.
he'll
The
definitely
Jets
come
got
back
a
down to
backdoor
earth.
score.
They're coming
So
back down to earth this week.
It doesn't matter. One of them's going to be undefeated.
All right, so Broncos over the Jags. I assume that was a yes.
That's 5.
Cardinals over the Vikings.
Of course.
6.
17
over
0
the
Super Bowl
Falcons.
champs.
7.
Chargers over the Cowboys.
That's about as 50-50 as it gets.
Seahawks over the Titans.
Yeah, so I miscounted. There's 9.
Chiefs over the Ravens.
Yeah.
Be the other one. Okay.
So you're taking Dallas over Los Angeles.
Yes.
Or he just doesn't want to call it. One of the two. I mean, that's a close game.
Yes, it's a good game.
Over unders at 55.5.
That's going to be a high scoring game.
But you guys don't think there'll be a lot of passing yards. Okay.
Well, I think there will be a lot, but 750 is like
750
astronomical.
Yeah.
Hey, Vegas.
600 is a lot.
When there's like 752 yards, give your boy a call. And I'll come. I'll work. You know, we got it. We'll figure it out. Anyway, assume that about wraps it up unless you guys have anything else.
No, I don't think so. Chiefs
Very
will be
good.
2-0 after this.
Well, you guys need to enjoy week 2. It's football. Fans are back, baby. Was it not just so nice listening to fans in the stands? You know, that 12th man difference, like it was just very nice watching football again with fans. And speaking of fans, we like our fans. And so go ahead and drop us a like or subscribe so that way we kind of, get you rolling, start commenting on our stuff so we can start getting your name in there, and, if merch becomes available, we need somebody to give it to. Just might be you. So go ahead and do that for us. But until next time, be good out there and tell your grandma. Football, baby.
Football is back.